This video is about the armoured trains and railway guns brought into action in 1940 to 44 to defend Britain in the event of a German invasion. There were two types of armoured trains. One was the RHDR, and there were also other trains that ran on the other railway lines. And there were also railway guns brought into action as well, most of them relics from the First World War. So there were trains A to M which ran on various main lines close to the coast, and these had one 6-pounder 57mm gun from the sort of short gun that they had on the First World War tanks, and 2 anti-tank rifles, 6 Bren guns, and 2 303 Vickers machine guns, and a total crew of about 50. They were armoured with 4 inches of concrete on the wagon and steel plate on the locomotive. The Romney Hythe train had just 2 Boys anti-tank rifles and 4 Lewis guns, and was mainly armoured with boilerplate. The RHDR is a 15-inch miniature railway that runs for 13 miles along the south coast of England between Romney and Hythe. In 1940, the Somerset Light Infantry had locomotive number 5 Hercules, armoured along with 2 wagons. Each wagon was armed with a Boys anti-tank rifle and 2 Lewis machine guns, one for anti-aircraft use. It is claimed that the train shot down a Dornier aircraft, and if this claim is true, it's the only British armoured train to see action in World War II, possibly the world's smallest one to do so. The train ran right next to the main proposed German invasion beaches, that is beaches C and B, and would have been right in the thick of the fighting, but the effect on the Germans of being attacked by a lightly armed toy train can only be imagined. It is, however, seen that this train featured in British newsreels as an example of British pluck and determination to resist the invader. As I said, the locomotive was fitted with boilerplate armour which might stop rifle bullets with a bit of luck, while the rest had to make do with mild steel or concrete. The so-called armoured train started patrolling from New Romney to Hythe at dawn, and at 8 AM the train was to be stationary, camouflaged and ready to fire on German low-flying fighters returning from missions over in England until 5 PM. The train occasionally spent the night in Hythe, reversing the trip next morning. Despite the war, the personnel of the train was supposed to take off for lunch between 1 PM and 2 PM. The train was also used as a leave train on Sundays for excursions to Hythe. It was an extensive troop transport as well as a freight transport, especially with the building and supporting the Project Pluto pipeline under the ocean in 1944. So these are some pictures you can see if you actually do take the train. And here you can see how small it actually is. And this is the view from the train looking inland. See how the land sloped steeply upwards, not far away from the shore. I did see some pillboxes beside the railway from World War II. So ran from Hythe to Dungeness, and here's the train arriving at Dungeness. was originally built as a toy train in a garden, and then it sort of expanded further outwards. Of more significance were the other armoured trains, and there were 12 of them, and they were built in the LMS, London Midlands and Southern Carriage and Wagon Works at Derby, and in the LNER, that is London Northern Eastern Railway, works at Stratford in East London. Construction started in May 1940, and a first batch of 7, numbered A through G, entered service on the 30th of June, with J through M following on the 10th of July. The trains patrolled the British coast from Land's End along the south and east, right up to the Moray Firth in Scotland. The Tank Museum has still got one of these cars, which is labelled a Railway Wagon 21-ton Mineral. The locomotive crews were professional railwaymen or Royal Engineers, but the fighting crews all came from the Royal Armoured Corps. In late 1940, preparations began to hand the trains over to the Polish Army and expand the rolling stock. 4 Polish armoured train battalions, manning 12 Polish armoured trains, were founded on the 12th of October 1940. They saw no combat and were disbanded by July 1943. Each battalion was assigned to a set of 3 to 5 armoured trains. The 1st Battalion operated trains C, G and E. The 2nd Battalion trains A, D and F. And the 3rd Battalion trains B, M and H. The 4th Battalion manned trains K, L and J. And there was 1 officer, 7 NCOs and 39 other ranks per train. In addition, there were 8 Royal Engineers to keep the train running. Here we have the train C photographed at Saxmundham. And as I mentioned, the repurposed 6-pounder guns, the 57mm World War tank guns from which the Mark IV tanks and thereafter had. They would have had limited anti-tank capabilities. From 1941, the trains were expanded to include more rolling stock. They were based for organisational purposes in Perth, York, Devon and Essex. Train B was based at Alnmouth from 1940 until April 1942 and covered the area between Newcastle and Berwick. Trains E and F together made up Group 2 in Kent and Sussex, but F was sent to Devon at the end of July 1940. Until then, it had patrolled the line from Ashford to Lewes at night, with a detour at Appledore down to Dungeness and back. Train E worked out of Tonbridge and had a more irregular schedule, it seems. Only Train E could have played a role in the early stages of an invasion, unless they brought the other ones down also. It might possibly have done some execution if it caught German columns without armour or anti-tank guns in the open terrain of the Downs. And of course, this assumes that the railway was still in good condition and not destroyed by bombing. Here we have a picture of Polish troops in an armoured train in the UK in 1941, and you can see how thick the concrete armour was. The Polish units operated them until 1942, when the trains were handed to the Home Guard. By 1943, the need for the armoured trains was fading, and many were withdrawn, but they remained popular in Scotland, where they were useful for patrolling long stretches of coastline. The last one was withdrawn in November 1944. On return to regular duties, each locomotive was fitted with a small engraved plaque commemorating its war service. So now let's talk about the super heavy railway guns. Churchill had ordered some super heavy railway guns from the First World War saved. These were put on railway mountings. There were 2 9.2-inch guns, 2 13.5-inch guns from the old battleship Iron Duke, 4 5.5-inch guns from HMS Hood, 1 18-inch howitzer, and 12 12-inch howitzers. These were installed for engaging enemy landings and placed on railway lines close to the coast. In his memoirs, Churchill does not say when they were made available. He just mentions that he did get them preserved. The three 13.5-inch guns were placed on the East Kent Light Railway, located around Liddon and Shepherdswell. These were known as Gladiator, Scene Shifter and Peacemaker. There were also 9.2-inch Mark 13 guns were located near Canterbury and Hythe. An 18-inch howitzer, Boschbuster, was sighted on the Eltham Valley Railway between Bridge and Lomidge, and 12-inch howitzers, Mark 3 and 5, located around Gustenholm. So this is a picture of the 12-inch railway howitzers in Catterick, which was an army training camp in Yorkshire in 12th of December 1940. The 18-inch railway gun Boschbuster was set up at Bishopsbourne in Kent on the Eltham to Canterbury line in early 1941. The howitzer wasn't fired very often as the blast effect damaged local buildings. It had a range of 20 kilometres but wasn't much good against moving targets or enemies out of its arc of fire. So of course they had to put it on a curved section of track so that it could fire in more than one direction. And it was based inside a railway tunnel to prevent it from being attacked by aircraft. And Boschbuster can now be seen at Fort Nelson near Portsmouth. And this is what it looks like if you go there. This museum is just north of Portsmouth. Contains quite a lot of artillery. So these are quite separate from the British cross-channel guns because their range wasn't that good, and their accuracy also left something to be desired. So only 4 18-inch howitzers were built in the First World War, and they were introduced too late to see action. And Churchill ordered one kept, as he thought it might be needed later on. Boschbuster weighed 200 tons. One of the men firing it in 1941 said, "There was an elderly couple near where we were shooting, and every time he fired, their roof lost a few more tiles." So as you can see, the range is 12.7 miles or 20 kilometres, and the channel was 34 kilometres wide. So it could not be used as a cross-channel gun. And here we have the references. Thanks for watching.